Witness is Dr. Anthony Levatino. Dr. Levatino is a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist. Over the course of his career, Dr. Levatino has practiced obstetrics and gynecology in both private and university settings, including as an associate professor of OBGYN at the Albany Medical College. And Dr. Levatino, we'll begin with you. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. Second trimester D&E abortions performed between roughly 14 and 24 weeks of gestation. Your patient today is 17 years old. She's 22 weeks pregnant. Her baby is the length of your hand plus a couple of inches, and she's been feeling her baby kick for the last several weeks, but she's asleep on an operating room table. You walk into that operating room scrubbed and gowned, and after removing laminaria, you introduce a suction catheter into the uterus. This is a 14 French suction catheter. If she were 12 weeks pregnant or less, basically the width of your hand or smaller, you could basically do the entire procedure with this. But babies this big don't fit through catheters this size. After suctioning the amniotic fluid out from around the baby, you introduce an instrument called a Sofer clamp. It's about 13 inches long. It's made of stainless steel. The business end of this clamp is about 2.5 inches long and 1/2 inch wide. There are rows of sharp teeth. This is a grasping instrument, and when it gets a hold of something, it does not let go. A D&E procedure is a blind abortion, so picture yourself introducing this and grabbing anything you can blindly and pull, and I do mean hard, and out pops a leg about that big, which you put down on the table next to you. Reach in again, pull out an arm about the same length, which you put down on the table next to you. And use this instrument again and again to tear out the spine, the intestines, the heart and lungs.
It didn't have a heartbeat, it didn't have a face, it didn't have feelings, it was a clump of cells and tissue. I can also promise you that had I been forced to see this pregnancy through, I would have done what women have done for all the decades people like you have been trying to stop abortions. I would have gone to any length, medically overseen or not, to end my pregnancy.
Now we are living in such depravity that there are people, like the people that oppose this bill, that are willing to say, I know it's a human being, I know it has a heartbeat, I know there is life there, and I know it is innocent, and I'm willing to kill it.
You know, earlier on I described stacking up body parts on the side of the table. When you do an abortion, you need to keep inventory. You have to make sure you get 2 arms and 2 legs and all the pieces.
After all the parts were accounted for, the POC lab technician would dump everything out into a glass baking dish that sat on top of an X-ray light box, and she would reassemble the parts of the baby. I'm talking about first trimester abortion. Yes, there are parts. Yes, they must be reassembled. The baby is fully formed. Every internal organ is formed by 12 weeks gestation. So yes, there are parts, even earlier than 12 weeks.
Over 1,200 abortions, first and second trimester up to 24 weeks, and all the rest of it, and being very dedicated to it. For the first time in my life, I really looked at that pile of body parts on the side of the table, and I didn't see her wonderful right to choose, and I didn't see all the money I just made. All I could see was somebody's son or daughter.
The epididymis, a tightly coiled 6-meter-long tube which can hold over 1 billion sperm.
Sperm are really quite unique because they're almost like free living cells. They almost have a life of their own. They have but one aim, which is to deliver a genetic payload from the male to the female through a really quite complex series of environments, both in the male and the female reproductive tract.
You've got hundreds of millions of cells that are swimming wildly about. You've got a lot of death. You've got a lot of obstacles to overcome.
Sperm counts are considered low if the count is generally less than 20 million sperm per milliliter of ejaculate. Some experts consider less than 15 million per milliliter as being the lower limit of normal.
Well, they never asked for directions, which is part of the problem. The concentration of sperm in the sample is 87 million. The average man will have 60 to 80 million sperms.
How much sperm per milliliter a man makes. In a man that has a 2 milliliter ejaculate, which is about a half a teaspoon, that's sort of in that normal range, how many millions per ejaculate he makes. And a normal number should be somewhere around 20 million or higher. I've also seen men that come in and have 200 million sperm per milliliter.
We have sunk to a new low in our society. Taking the life of an innocent human being that is your own flesh and blood and your own DNA, it's not normal. And it is time for us to rectify what we have done.
Let me know what you think, and make sure to share it, because other people need to learn too.